to the Love Your Brand podcast. If you're looking for real conversations with real people, you're the right place. Let's go!
Welcome. 15 years of experience. Tell us a little bit. You sent over a bio, but I would love it if you would just kind of go through that a little bit with what you sent.
Yeah, happy to. So, professionally, my last 15 years or so have kind of been spent in the corporate world. I have led sales teams. I've led what we call kind of traditional account management teams, and currently lead some customer success teams, which is a little bit of a new discipline focused more heavily on customer experience and retention. But do that for a company called TELUS Agriculture and Consumer Goods, which is a large multinational with branches in the UK, et cetera. But it's actually made up of several acquisitions. And I started with a company called Techniques that was based in Charlotte and was eventually acquired by TELUS Agriculture and Consumer Goods. And I've stayed with them with that company for about 10 years now in very similar sort of leadership roles, leading teams, and have enjoyed it. Really, really have. But I also, with Techniques, who I came in with, had kind of it's very much a startup feel, very much an entrepreneurship organization. And you mentioned sort of letting go, and it reminded me, one of the founders of that company, Steve Amidio, who works quite a bit in Charlotte as well. I asked him one time, what is one piece of advice you could give me, from an entrepreneurship angle? Because, as I said, I've always been fascinated. And he said, replace yourself. Work to replace yourself. Don't be afraid to replace yourself. So I thought it was really interesting that you mentioned that, because I think that is probably a lesson that most successful entrepreneurs eventually come to land on. But for my story, pretty straightforward in terms of corporate management experience and those things. But again, I've just always admired sort of the vision and the passion of entrepreneurs, the willingness to do what others can't or won't. And that's a unique journey for me.
Awesome. That's awesome. I know. So you said you're in Western Carolina. Are you based in the Charlotte area?
I am. Yeah, I actually, like I said, I worked in Charlotte for the better part of 6-7 years in uptown Charlotte. And then we transitioned to remote. So I live up in Denver, North Carolina, just on the lake up here on Lake Norman.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And I think you mentioned distance, programs like the distance program at WCU is again, have opened up doors for countless people to kind of pursue additional education too.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Now, and then go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to ask, so I know you're doing a project right now. Are you finishing up your class? Like what's the theme of that project?
Yeah, absolutely. So finishing up this class, which is really focused on entrepreneurial creation, the founding of a venture, but we've got a little bit of a heavy marketing kind of tinge to to this particular account, because it's, how do we get launched? And then how do we focus on sustainability early in that venture? And I think, as entrepreneurs, we often associate lawyers, accountants, bankers, and other folks as kind of critical professional services that have to be engaged prior to actually successfully launching a venture. And, I think most of us have all heard, make sure you get a good attorney, or, hire a good accountant. They'll make your life so much easier.
Yeah.
But the truth is, those are important services, but none of them actually generate revenue. So the question and kind of the theme here is, why is it that engaging professional marketing services, which can lead to revenue generation, isn't on that list of critical professional services?
Right. Well, and it's interesting because I feel like so often whenever companies are looking to cut, where can we cut our expenses? Marketing is one of the first places that they go to cut, which is so fascinating just in that thought alone, because you're exactly right. Marketing is what drives revenue. The more marketing you have, ideally, if you do it right, the more income you get from it. So why is that ultimate revenue builder getting one of the first things that's getting cut? So I think it's really also about how you interpret it and how you see marketing. There's people that have an eye for marketing that really see the importance of it. And a lot of people also just see it as an add-on, an accessory that, they should cut at the end of the day if they can't afford it. So it's kind of a complicated scenario. And we always talk to our clients about this. Some really get it and some kind of need a lesson on it. And they're very grateful to have that lesson. So, one thing, if you can view marketing as this, say you want to grow your business 30% in a year. Okay, then I need to increase my marketing by 30% this year. And people really say, oh, I have all these goals. I want to, increase my revenue 50%, but I think I could only, increase my marketing by max 10%. Well, it's pretty hard to make your goals, be able to reach your goals if you don't have that understanding and that appreciation for what good marketing does. So that's one of the high level things that I think about why it's, not considered an asset. It's almost that, misconceived notions about it that people have to learn through education, I would say. I don't know if you guys have any other opinions on that.
Building off that, Megan, I feel like this is a conversation that we have internally so much. So I feel like that, this project relates to our team a lot. And the conclusion that we seem to have come to is that for like bankers and accountants and attorneys, like you mentioned, all of their results are more tangible. So you can see whenever you win a case, you can see whenever they're being successful. But for here, the tracking is a little bit different and it takes a lot longer. So if we do marketing and we know that it's going to be a year till you see any growth, a lot of companies don't want to ride that wave. So, but it is extremely important because as Megan said, if you cut that, you're either going to be stagnant or you're going to go backwards. And building that foundation up is going to take a long time again, whenever you decide to do that.
Yeah.
We want to change the conversation too. We want to help educate so that it is one of those starting services. Oh, you're starting a business, get on your marketing. It's not, it has to progress to that point. And that's what we're trying to do, not only with these types of podcasts and these types of conversations, but, we're trying to do more and more within even just our own company with not only like funnel systems and different things, but we want to make it so this knowledge is available to everyone so that when whoever and whatever genre of business people are in, we can be like, oh, hey, we can help you with this. We can help you grow this. We can not only educate you, but we can help you grow your business at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it boils down to where they're at, like in their business. If it's a new venture, I think that was one of your questions. Like when someone is starting something from concept, right? And they're like, I need an accounting, I need this, I need this, I need this. Why do they not look at having a marketing expert or a chief branding officer or a fractional CMO? Why do they not hold them in the same regard? A lot of them do. It's all based on, their experience and education from what I found. Have they been able to connect their brand equity to their KPIs, to their company's valuation? I met with a seasoned acquisition and merger guy, and I was kind of astounded. He didn't know how to connect having a community and or audience within their organization, how it could impact the acquisition and I guess valuation of a company. So if you've got company A, say they $1 million in sales, hardcore sales organization, company B, $1 million in sales, but they've got a community. Say they've got a couple million bodies that they can upsell, that they could shift, that they can merge, they can adapt, they can increase their revenue. I'm going to buy this company, every time. There's a value to that. So that's why, social media, for example, is a form of building community. It increases the value of your company. When you first start a company, you don't have brand equity. You don't have a brand, right? You're creating more of an initial brand guide to follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But brand equity is developed over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's brand equity is what your customers are saying in the other room about your organization, both externally and internally, even within your company. You know, there's internal brand equity and external brand equity. They've all got to align. They all connect to your KPI. That's why a chief brand officer is such an important position nowadays, that most large organizations fill that role, but you very rarely see smaller, medium-sized businesses with that role. So they're not educated. They don't have that person to fill in all the gaps. You know, they may have a chief marketing officer, but they don't even know how to fill in those gaps. They know how to generate spurts of revenue, but they don't really understand how brand equity builds their company,
Right.
and creates their value proposition, and increases their valuation when they go to sell. Because let's face it, they're not building this company as a forever company. You know, 100% there's some kind of exit strategy eventually, right? I mean, or a replacement strategy like we were talking about earlier, so they can grow and morph into their other ventures. Because usually that's what entrepreneurs enjoy doing. They like creating ventures that grow and they can be self-sustainable, and they almost create a brand on their own, right? Then that's where they get excitement and drive. So they want to do it again. 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 That's awesome. That's what is exciting and drives me, is that initial creation and seeing stuff grow. So I think that passion alone, it helps create a company like with that markets and sells this stuff. If you're passionate about what you do, it comes through your messaging, it comes through your communications. You know, it's not about selling, it's more about purpose.
Yeah. I think also, Jason, that's kind of your new role that you were discussing recently, along with being the founder and CEO of our company. Jason's kind of pivoting what we can offer to clients and giving that fractional CBO response to them, which is super important because many clients don't know where to start. And so one of the services we're going to be offering too in the future is coming in and taking on that role, even as an agency, but to your company, telling you how to brand what point you are in your business, whether you're starting out or whether you need to pivot your brand or whether you need to just kind of build off the foundation that you already have set. It's so important. Even I think having someone like Jason who has the experience and then is able to look in from the outside, because internally things can get really jumbled. We found with some of our partners. So having somebody there that just has this expertise is really important. And that's kind of the new TA way that we're going to be adopting, along with all of our services that we offer. Which includes everything full service and marketing, from consulting to implementation.
And Zane, this is just a passion project, right? It's like, I see all this fractional, CFOs and heck, even fractional CEOs nowadays, right? I'm like, where's the CBOs? You got CMOs. Where's the CBOs? They get no love. The brands get no love.
Yeah.
I don't understand. So that's, I guess, our goal. My personal goal is to develop more content to push out about that role, about that opportunity. I don't see why any company, they need to have that in some kind of fractional capacity. Right. I'm not saying you need a full timer, most of the Fortune 500 companies, but, at least explore it, even if it's contractually for 6 months, for 12 months, maybe they come in and do consulting, but that can help educate everyone on the value of marketing and branding, and then the C-suite and all their KPIs and ROIs and every other abbreviation you can come up with, and how they're all connected. I think that's the biggest thing is, everybody's in such a hurry now to spend $1 and get back 3.
Yeah.
Right? They're in a reaction mode. Sometimes by the time they come to us, it's too late. They haven't been proactive. Like, if a company is doing well, then they need to start marketing. They need to start increasing their brand visibility. They need to start new avenues of influencer campaigns. They need to start building more of a community. At that time, it would alleviate a lot of trouble, because what they do is they wait until the pain is so great, until they're losing, and then they're in fix-it mode. They get online, they search for 5 agencies. You go back, you do the song and dance, and if you stand out or not, you end up being in some kind of commodity bucket, right? Because you can only educate so much, but some people put on their blinders and they put you in a bucket with five other people. And at the end of the day, they look at the price, right? The bottom line. What's it cost? So
it's interesting that you mentioned that. And I wanted to kind of chime in here real quick with a question on that topic, because, for you guys as sort of a full service agency, you've got offerings across the board, but for a prospective entrepreneur who's just launching a venture, or who has launched a venture, or is, doing well, hasn't hit too many pain points yet, but they're in the market for an agency, what are some of the things that they should be looking for? What are some of the questions they should be asking for when pursuing an agency or marketing firm?
Well, to me, when working with individuals, with companies, I always look at their culture. Like, if I meet with them, I know I'm going to have to interact with them, right? On an ongoing basis. It always helps if that relationship, if you like them, if there's personality, right? If you enjoy it. I mean, have you ever went to a meeting and you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to go to this meeting. I sit through this meeting, right? I mean, that's no fun. So, I don't care how much data they show me and whatnot. And just me personally, I can't do it. I can, if I see a company and they're just like, I really feel like they're down to earth, they're going to treat me like a person, like a human to human, right? That's the kind of culture I want. A lot of other businesses may not care. They may just look at the bottom line and their experience, and oh my gosh, they did it for these 3 companies, or this doesn't, whatever. They may be looking at other metrics. I can only tell you from my experience, and I've been hiring a lot of partners lately, and I've been, having dozens of calls, and if I'm not able to connect with them via video or in person, then it's a no-go for me. That's just the kind of relationships that I need to nurture myself with, because there's too much chaos already, right? And that's something in my control. So it's the ease of communication, likability. Also, their work is important. They've got to at least give me some metrics and know I'm comfortable that they know what they're doing. Also, strategy, the S word. Companies hate it. They don't like to pay for it, right? It's like the C word, consulting and strategy. Like, it flew out the window a decade ago. It's all about execution, which I'm a fan of execution, because strategy is just strategy and just a lot of lost words if it never gets execution, right? But we've started implementing a strategy session initially, and that's kind of helped weed out a lot of the tire kickers, the ones that, really don't value our experience and our knowledge and are just looking for people to execute, which is fine too, right? If they've got a big marketing team and their stuff is on point and makes sense, that's okay. But that's never the case. Let's face it, they're reaching out for a reason. So I don't know if I answered that or if I went on a tangent.
I think to add to that, as far as a entrepreneur perspective of what you're looking in, I think Jason was really building on, you want to get a partner that doesn't necessarily view you as a client, but a partner, not giving you just that cookie cutter approach to everybody, but that custom approach that really wants to see you succeed. And I think we run into agencies a lot that are like, oh, we'll give you this for this low price, and you're going to see results instantly. You're, going to see all these leads, everything. That's something, that instant gratification model is something that you want to run away from. And I think that it's for people that aren't educated in how marketing truly works, they, of course, that's very enticing, low money, instant gratification, everything like that. But that's just truthfully not the case. And our other member of the team, Jonathan, has made this analogy in the past, which I think is really genius. We used to have we've had dental clients, medical clients in the past, and we one time brought this analogy to them, saying, okay, so let's say you're getting Invisalign, or braces. Are you expecting as soon as you put those Invisalign or those braces on that your teeth are going to be perfect? Of course not. You need to go through the cycle and the transitions and the changes and that buildup that happens over time that leads you to those perfect teeth at the end of, your cycle of Invisalign or braces or whatever. So it's kind of that analogy that says, okay, you're going to see, there's going to need to be change and ups and downs and, tweaks along the way, and figuring out what's right once we analyze and really learn your market with you. Because a lot of our partners know their market so well, but they don't necessarily know how to market their target market, So we're here to help that and learn with them and become experts in their target audience from a marketing perspective. And that slow, long-term progression that it really works and is really sustainable is what entrepreneurs should be looking for, rather than just low price, instant gratification. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that, and the advice that I would give for entrepreneurs when looking for an agency, for sure.
And the earlier, the better. I know you mentioned when they start their operation, they're going to have to be looking for potential, funding, phase one funds. I mean, they're going to be executing in multiple different ways, but the earlier they can bring someone in, they can start the process of, creating that initial messaging and identifying their persona, their vision, their mission, because they're going to have to scale internally, just like they're scaling externally, right? So the earlier the better, because it molds everything that they do. It molds their outreach, their social media, their emails, their landing pages, whatever kind of PR they're going with, any kind of goals. I mean, it's so integrated in within their total business strategy. It only makes sense, right? It's so intertwined. It's like without that, it's very hard if you're just winging it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think that's a fantastic point, right? Because we know that, the data tells us 1 in 4 businesses in the U.S. will fail the first year of launching, right? And as you get closer to 5 years, that figure jumps to almost 50%. I think chief amongst those reasons is, poor marketing strategy and presence. And the reality is, it also tells us that, from a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of folks, they believe they're marketers. And we talked a little bit about it earlier. It kind of gets overlooked sometimes, but specifically, one of those reasons tends to be an inability to target and reach, those early post-launch customers that can sustain the business. So you've got everything in order, then you launch and you realize, I don't really have a good persona. I don't really have a good target audience. I don't really have my details lined up. So now I'm in trouble. So I think it speaks, to precisely what you just mentioned, Jason, in terms of let's make sure, that we have this buttoned up early on. So we've identified our market. And I think for you guys, agencies like TA, what are some of the things that you guys do to help identify and reach those early customers?
Yeah, I think we start off with ensuring their messaging is, really solid. We want to make sure that they have that brand foundation. And we even do this with companies that have been in business for years. And if it's not working, we'll make that pivot. We're not afraid to jump ships. And we have customers that are clients that respect that. And we have some that really do push back. And that's something that just getting that through, that it's important to nail down the foundation, even after the business is established, because if you're going up at some point, it's going to take a turn, So they're like, oh, well, I have found success in my business. So I don't really need to, find branding that works for me, find messages that are consistent. And then eventually that's going to cause confusion, especially when you get to the point where you're not just getting referrals from friends and family, when you're reaching out, when you're doing, cold call, cold email, and they're like, I don't understand what you do, really. I don't understand what your brand stands for. So that's the biggest thing. And I think that's what we as TA also focus on internally. It's how we come across is we treat people like people. We treat all our clients like their family, and we want them to be a part of our brand just as we're a part of theirs.
Yeah. And brand messaging, of course, is so important. And that's always first priority before you do any other marketing platforms. But as far as the customers that you're already getting from the beginning, customer retention is crucial. And I think a huge science in marketing is understanding brand behavior. And I think that customer behavior. Customer behavior is something that's a science, and you really have to learn it to be able to understand what kind of moves that you need to make in marketing world. Because more often than not, a customer needs to see your product or your brand name 10 times before they actually act. So you need to remain consistent over and over again and nurture those contacts that you have over and over again in a consistent way to lead to that sales and revenue that you want at the end of the day. And that's a lot of things that people don't understand, saying, oh, these people aren't acting the first time. There's no way they're going to act again. People are tough, and understanding their buying behavior is incredibly important, and knowing they will buy if they stick around and see your product for 10 times over. And that's why in, marketing world, there's things such as remarketing ads, which follow you around, those ads that follow you around. And you're like, oh, I see them all the time. And you're probably going to eventually act once you see them enough or consistent. That's why you sign up for newsletters, or they want you to sign up for newsletters as you get consistent emails. Seeing that name at the top of your inbox over and over again is going to do really good things psychologically for the buyer. So consistency is key, always in terms of marketing ever. That is how you're going to retain the customers that you have and grow your customer audience.
It's awesome. All about relationship. It's about building that trust. And I feel like, when we start off with new clients, or we even heard from our new intern this week. We were like, what made you choose us? And he's like, I saw the people, I didn't see, the large overarching, we have statistics on our website, but he saw the people. And I think that's crucial, not only when building a brand, but even just building a business. You have to have that relationship. You have to earn that trust. And so with all these processes, you're building that up. So I think that's really important to mention as well.
Yeah.
Sure. For sure. Yeah, customer retention is decreasing year over year. Loyalty is getting harder to earn and harder to keep. Let's face it. It's the days of having clients for a decade is becoming fewer and fewer. Now it's the nutrition, what is it? Attrition rate or whatever. I might have churn rate. Yeah. It's 6 months, 12 months if you're lucky. So there's always something shinier and nicer and cheaper, right? It's it's so noisy. It's there's so many companies out there, and there's so much technology with your phones and remarketing and social, and they're getting hit from every which direction. So I think authenticity is going to help you stand out moving forward, and community, right? Building that audience that trust you, that you're truly in it to do what's best for them is the only way to be successful, I see. Because if you're just completely hitting everybody with marketing and not bringing any value, there's so many other options now. There's so much out there. And we're seeing this with partners that's, you know, they've lost accounts that they've had for 20 years, all because, you know, maybe a new bean counter comes in and it just looks at the bottom line, right? Maybe that's the old terminology, bean counter. You know, accountant, you know, CFO or whatnot. And they're just looking at the numbers, right? And that's it. They don't care about the relationship, the value. They're just looking at all the numbers and they're saying like, oh, we can cut this. Oh, we could get this in China. Oh, we could, you know, that's it. That's their goal, is to reduce those numbers. But they don't have that person in place to say, but hold on, you know, what about our product? What about our mission? Does it align with our values? It's, you know, unfortunately, you know, right now you have, I mean, world-renowned inflation, right? The media is understating it because they don't want you to go, you know, bonkers. So they're not going to tell you exactly how bad it is, but we all know, right? It's
pretty horrible.
We're all feeling it. So, you know, that impacts it. So now you have a lot of businesses that need to increase their visibility like twice as much because they keep going at the same rate. You know, they're going to have fewer leads, fewer opportunities, fewer engagements. Then their close rate has to increase. They got to go from 20% to 50%. Geez, can you imagine being a salesperson getting that news?
Yeah.
They're like, oh.
No, that's a wonderful point. I think it's interesting too, like in my own kind of existing work, you know, working in customer experience and success, right? Many of our primary targets are, you know, reducing churn, is, you know, keeping customers in the fold. And we live in a world of, you know, opportunities and rising customer expectations. So how is it that we continue to evolve to provide value to customers at every step of their journey, whether that's prospecting, onboarding, adoption, you know, to get them to a point of advocacy where we can keep them involved in the portfolio. And then we also know that, you know, it is a whole heck of a lot cheaper and more profitable, you know, to continue to upsell organically to existing customers than it is to go out and acquire brand new ones. So I think you guys have some fantastic points in terms of new ventures, early ventures. You know, you've got that small existing customer base to start with, utilize them, right? Build those relationships, focus on them as you continue to grow your business and scale up with that level of consistency that you mentioned. So those are just awesome points.
Awesome. Awesome.
And I know that we're in, sorry. I feel like we're in this age where everyone kind of sees themselves as a digital marketer. Like anybody can post online, you know, they can, and to several platforms. But if there's not that strategy behind it, it's going to fail because you need that long term, not only the short term, but the long term. And if you don't know how to do that, how to nurture, like we were talking before, like Megan was talking, it's just going to crumble, or people are going to get kind of touched out with what people are posting because it's just going to be the same thing over and over, or it's going to be dramatically different, and it's not going to keep the people, your audience, with you, and it's going to affect that trust. So there has to be that strategy. There has to be that connection and relationship.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So Zane,
clearly we feel strongly about it. There's a bunch of different factors and strong opinions about this, and there's so much that goes into it. But I just think the theme is really not relying on that instant gratification model, but going for the long-term sustainable process, and you will get the results. You just need to consider and learn and educate yourself on these long-term strategies from the beginning, and you will have a successful business. It just takes a little bit of dedication to get there.
Yeah.
Long story short.
That's awesome. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, you guys have certainly addressed, you know, my questions. And, you know, again, I can't thank you all enough for taking the time. I reached out and kind of an informal manner with low expectations. And I think you guys reached back out within 24 hours and were super accommodating, said you'd love to participate. And honestly, not just help a master's student, but, also help me professionally, because it was super insightful to listen and learn from you guys.
I hope so. I hope you got at least one small nugget out of that.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Jambalaya.
I have a unique feeling that the rest of my classmates might be jealous of this particular submission. So I owe that to you guys.
Of course. It's our favorite
thank
thing
you.
to talk about.
Share the love.
Yes.
That's what we're all about. So I'm glad that it helped you out and we were able to address, and help you out with all your questions.
Absolutely. I expect you'll have some new podcast followers as well. So,
Hey,
Awesome.
You guys notice
that audience.
shoot me a note. So maybe I can boost your marketing metrics too.
Awesome.
Absolutely. We'll forward it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you.
It was so nice meeting you, Zane.
Yeah.
Good luck with the rest of your classes, and we'll stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great day.
You
Have a
too.
great day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks for listening and joining us on the Love Your Brand podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode, and remember, share the love.